So today we have a beautiful service, and it's going to be geared around spiritual visions, OBEs, which can also be astral plane, and NDEs. And I think you'll like it. We'll explain what they are, compare and contrast them. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be here. I brought in some beautiful sources, and I will be talking about my own NDE a little bit more in detail so that you'll be able to have a different perspective, because there's many NDEs where you have the white light and everyone's seen the movies and read the books. Mine is a little bit different. It's a little bit more. But let's go ahead. This is a beautiful prayer for paradise on earth. It's by the Joe Ray Fellowship. And we start out our services with that. We can say it together. Great God of light, we behold your plan, whereby all spiritual clouds are dispelled, impurity and arrogance from the realms of spirit. The age of light and joy is being born through your infinite compassion. Misguided forces waken onto truth, and negative practices, while forces of light unhindered restore the peace. All of nature receives your light influence and finds its rightful place. Peaceful clouds move through skies, and the fragrance of countless flowers floats on the air. Abundant harvests quiet, every corner filled with happiness. Boundaries between countries vanish, and ancient conflicts disappear as of dreams. All people are united, encircled by your light, and guided by your wisdom. Through service to humanity, all are blessed with health, peace, and prosperity. Great God of light, strengthen us with wisdom to follow your will and realize paradise. I'm going to tell everyone, because it's such a beautiful prayer, where you can find it. It's a beautiful fellowship. It's an organization. And in a lot of my services, you'll see that I reference a lot of course material. And I will always share with you where I got it, and you can do your own deep dive into the matter. But this is a beautiful prayer, and I want you to know where you can find it. And for those of you online, it's www. It's called the Joe Ray Fellowship, but it's spelled JOHREI fellowship.org. And you can get a beautiful copy of that, because that is exactly what we're doing, is creating paradise on earth. So let me open. I wanted to kind of explore all the different experiences between NDEs, OBEs, and what we call spiritually transformative experiences and spiritual visions. What are the differences? What are they? And so let me talk to you just a little bit about what they may be. And then I will go in a little bit in depth to my own near-death experience. I've had a lot of people request, they want to hear it. So it's a perfect time. We've had other requests on the board, and so we're going to combine them all together. So, but what is an out-of-body experience? So let's think about it. That's the consciousness feels separated from the physical body. And a lot of people will do that. Even it can be happenstance. It can be through directed intention where they want to do that. And you'll see it. They might float above the body. They might get scared and come back into their body. But those are those out-of-body experiences. And you'll see sometimes they're able to go places, maybe, to their friend's house. But you'll start to see that's called an out-of-body experience, right? They often involve seeing one's own body from outside, moving through rooms, or traveling to other places. So that's what this out of body is. So when you start to see that, that's what they're classifying that as. Some of the common sensations would be floating, flying, sudden jolts back into the body. So you might come out, walk around, get a little scared or whatever, and come back. So that's literally what you're calling an out of body. So the perception is they often still resemble earthly senses. You're going to see rooms, hear conversations, and even confirming real world details. So they can come out and see things. A lot of these rishis can do this, and it's almost like remote viewing. So you can actually come out, and scientifically, they're going to talk a lot about this. I think remote viewing is this. Do you see that? They're just defining it in another term from the scientific realm. And our own governments are practicing it all over the world. But the rishis, the masters could do this. They could take a student, know where they're at, and sometimes even project themselves to them. But they could go and look and see what everything was and come back and relay those details. I did read a long time ago, which I thought was interesting, but it was up in the Nordic lands. And they had another name for them. About this before cell phones, before the internet, and they were seafaring. So people would have a certain proclivity for this. And then in so doing, like even the American Indians with Black Elk, he had a death experience. They were more accepting of these things, right? The entire tribe reenacted what Black Elk saw in heaven. Do you see the acceptance of this? But in this Nordic tribe up there and the peoples, when a child had a certain proclivity, that psychicness, they were then instructed and they were kind of held up in esteem. And what would happen is when everyone would go on these long seafaring journeys, the parents and the husband, the wife, they would get scared for their loved ones. So they would go to these people and they would remote view and find them. And sometimes even have conversations and come back and say, oh, no, you're loved. Isn't that wonderful? So they had these kinds of individuals and society did accept them. So it's in our times that it was kind of shut down. But that's why I tell you that, because in other cultures and other civilizations in prior times, it wasn't so shut down. And people would have these abilities and they would be lauded. So that's where those are those out of body, remote viewing, those are those type of experiences. You'll see they're very earthbound. After effect, once you can go out and you can do these things and you can journey, what's the after effect? It can leave a person convinced of the soul's independence from the body. Now we know that our consciousness is independent because you can journey and come back to it, right? Sometimes visual if you're afraid. It can also reduce the fear of death. And it can be kind of life-changing sometimes to realize that you can do these things. And those are those spiritual gifts that we have. Now, what is a spiritual vision? That's something different, right? So visions, think of some of the people that have had spiritual visions, and I'll go through some of them. But a spiritual vision is different. That's more receiving. Someone comes to you. And that is also what I had when I was 5. So that's why I'll speak to you both about my near-death experience when I was 6 months old, but also my spiritual vision. So spiritual vision is when a spirit, a saint comes to you and you receive it and you are being supported by it. That's different than an out of body. So that's why I'm differentiating them. Is there an overlap? Maybe a little. The OBE, out of body, is consciousness exploring outside the body. While a vision is the spirit revealing the truth or coming to you to comfort you or to give you some information. Do you see the differences now? I'm trying to, delineate them for you. OBE, out of body experience, shows us that we're more than the body. A spiritual vision shows us that we're connected to spirit and all the other different beautiful beings of light, right? You see, isn't it beautiful to kind of see that? But let's talk about the spiritual vision, the NDEs. What were the 5 top spiritual visions of all time that you can know of? The road to Damascus, that's Saul, right? Saw blinding light, heard the voice of Christ. Remember that one? This vision transformed him from a persecutor of Christians into Christianity's greatest missionary, because he saw, the cross. That was a spiritual vision. What was the impact of the spiritual vision? The entire is his spiritual vision, because of what he was able to do, right? This is Paul, the teachings of Paul. You see this? It spread Christianity to the Gentile world. Just hinged on his vision, because everything changed. He was persecuting the Christians, so now he's espousing them, right? He's supporting them. The Prophet Muhammad's night journey, he had a vision, right? Muhammad. He was taken in spirit form to Mecca, to Jerusalem, and then ascended to the heavens. He met prophets and saw paradise and hell and entered the divine presence. So that was his spiritual vision. Impact was huge. That was central to the Islamic spirituality and practice. So you had Saul for Christianity, but now you have Muhammad with Islam, right? So these are major spiritual visions that are creating whole movements and religions. The Buddha, we all know about his vision under he's the Bodhisattva under the Bodhi tree, right? That was his vision that impacted and now created Buddhism. These are spiritual visions. So his was less of an outward vision and more of an inward vision, though. And it was a breakthrough for his ultimate truths. And that's the Eightfold Path, if any of you follow Buddhism. It's beautiful. The vision of Constantine. Before the battle of the Milvian Bridge, the Roman Empire, Constantine reportedly saw a cross of light in the sky with the words, "In this sign conquer." He later converted to Christianity, legalizing it in the Roman Empire. Imagine that. This is huge because of visions. So let's talk about some of the visions of Mary, and then we'll go into the NDEs. Visions are with us. You can see how they can impact our world and create whole religions. We've also had some visions of Mary that I'm sure many of you have heard about, read about, but that brings it up into the modern era, because these were the older visions, right? But think about some of the visions of Mary. The Lady of Guadalupe. Are you familiar with that one? And that's where it's beautiful. It's Juan Diego, and he was walking in Mexico, near Mexico City, and he literally saw the vision of the lady. And she would imprints on him, because he's being told and instructed to create a church. He goes to his bishop, doesn't believe him. He comes back to her, and she literally created roses in the winter, and he scoops them up, but on his poncho he doesn't know it, is an imprinted vision of the lady herself. So he goes back to the bishop, and this is where science is merging with religion, with spiritual visions. It's validating it. That's the exciting time. So when he comes back to the bishop, and they're kind of poo-pooing him, and he says, no, I brought back evidence. He takes the flowers to show him that they just bloomed in the winter, that was her gift to the bishop to create this church. And what happens is the bishop is like aghast, because there's an entire imprint right on his poncho of her. Now this still is in existence. You can still see it. You can go down there. It's in a glass, And with scientific scopes, you can see this vision and you can see her, and inside her eyes, at microscopic levels, it's because she's looking outward, and you can see, like Juan Diego, you can see it inside the eye. You couldn't create it, you can't paint it. So it's a true spiritual vision that was impacting on the poncho, right? You can see it. The Lady of Fatima, that's another spiritual vision. That's in Portugal. I'm sure you guys have heard that these are the three shepherd children, and Mary appeared to them multiple times. And the famous miracle of the sun was witnessed by tens of thousands. This is the 1917, and that's in Portugal. What was the impact of the spiritual vision? All those prophecies, and if you've done a deep dive on it, you'll see, became central to the Catholic spirituality in the 20th century. And some of them were even held in secret. And I did a deep dive on that because of what she was revealing. The Lady of Lourdes, everyone knows the Lady of Lourdes. That was Saint Bernadette, 14-year-old peasant girl. Interesting that most times, and you'll see this, that the visions come to those who are pure of heart. And even Jesus said, bring the little children unto me because they are pure and have the faith. And they're not bound to the restrictions of the intellect and what they're told to see, right? That's the child, the faith, the child that's pure. And the Lady of Medjugorje, that was in 1981. That's in Bosnia. Those are the visions of 6 young people. Mary appeared as the Queen of Peace. Isn't that beautiful? Urging prayer, fasting, conversion, and reconciliation. These apparitions still appear, and you'll see them throughout the earth today. There was a Our Lady of Knock in 1879 in Ireland. That was beautiful. 15 villagers saw her. She appeared silently with St. Joseph and St. John the Evangelist. And that was unique because it was a silent apparition, emphasizing presence rather than words. There wasn't any words exchanged. That became Ireland's major Marian shrine there because of her. So what's the themes? Oh, a list of Mary's, with the visions of Mary. She calls humanity to prayer, fasting, and returning to God. Great compassion. So you'll see this coming again and again, signs and miracles, sons, miracles, healings. So a lot of times it's beautiful messages that are being given to humanity with the visions. So those are the out of body, and those are the spiritual visions. Now let's talk about what an NDE is. An NDE, and I'm sure many of you have heard about NDEs, seen the movies on it, the documentaries. But you die. A lot of times, not all of us, most people don't die in a hospital. Today, more and more people are dying, which is again bringing more and more people back, right? With visions to tell of what happened and transpired because we have defibrillators, because we have all this modern technology. But there were near-death experiences, even in Plato spoke of this. So there were many times people had went up to heaven and came back and spoke of this. So let's talk about, it's just more prevalent and more common in today's modern world. And I spoke to you about Black Elk. He had it, right? This is before defibrillators. People did die, went up to heaven and came back, sometimes surprising people. Sometimes it scared them, right? But today, more people are having near-death experiences. And it's becoming more common to talk about them, thanks to Dr. Moody and Dr. Grayson and the International Association of Near-Death Studies. And so it's becoming common, it's becoming common language in the mainstream. More and more people are speaking of this because society is becoming more accepting of it. It didn't mean that it didn't happen before. It just might have been people didn't speak of it because they were being afraid of being ridiculed. Because what I told you before, other cultures were open to this, but in our more recent times, people didn't know what to do with it, so they were in disbelief. But what I like to tell you today is my NDE. It was important to realize that I was only 6 months old. So I wasn't pre-programmed with mankind's acculturation process. I wasn't told what heaven was supposed to be, the paradises. I didn't even understand the language. So at that point in time, I'm unlimited. I wasn't limited by mankind's visions or interpretations of what heaven was supposed to be. Let me take you back because it's a story of a mother's love, our Creator's love, and the love that we should have throughout the entire cosmos for each other, because we are birthed in love. So it's going to be a profound one. It's not your typical white light. And now let me take you back to 1960. My brother was just a few months old. And way back in the day, we had white cloth diapers. And so I was in the house, ran into play. My mother said, Robin, can you go downstairs and get the cloth diapers out of the dryer? I need some for your brother. So of course, I'm going to run down and comply. I want to hurry and get out because I want to play, but I'm going to do what my mother's asking, right?
Said, oh, you were 6 months old, were you 6 years old?
Yes, but I don't remember it yet.
Ah.
I'll tell you. So this is like having amnesia. And then when you have amnesia, and you, like if someone has amnesia and they have a hit on the head, what do? You take them back to the house they grew up. Don't you remember this? Don't you remember that? That's what unlocks here in 1965. And I'll tell you how it unlocked it. And you'll see why it unlocked it. So I go downstairs trying to get the cloth diapers out. I was elated because there wasn't any more laundry baskets. So I'm running upstairs thinking she's got to unload them and then I'll come back. I want to go out and play. And she says, oh no, there's a red laundry basket down in the basement. Can you go ahead and get that one? And I go, I knew exactly where that red laundry basket was because I hid it. Because every single time we moved, there was a red laundry basket. Every time I got close to it, I would literally have this eerie feeling. Didn't know where it came from. I would have a visceral response to it, right? So I hid it. I didn't want to look at that thing. So when she tells me to go down and get this red laundry basket, I'm going, I know exactly where that red laundry basket is. I hid it even in water here. So I'm kind of sad, trudging down the stairs. I went and got this thing and dragged it. I wasn't so happy about it. But I want you to see this. What do? It's old, it's hard and red plastic. Doesn't have holes in it. It's a container. I drag it under the dryer, and as you take the door and you open it, what am I doing? I'm looking over it. And as soon as I look over it, I almost fell over because the entire experience comes down upon me, triggered in an instant, the entire event of everything that happened. And so now I'm going to relay to you what happens. That experience unlocks the entire event. Do you see that? This is what I remember. I'm on a kitchen table, 1950s, old, kind of chrome, all of those. You might remember them. I'm in a little baby bouncy chair. I'm seeing these two people. I'm in a kitchen, and they're like in a hallway by the kitchen, but there's a brown box on the wall, and they're talking very staccato-ish. And I knew they were upset. I couldn't figure out why they were upset, but I was going, please calm down, everything's fine. In my head, like, calm down. And then I realized that they're looking at me. So I go, why are they upset with me? I'm feeling great. My consciousness, I look down at my little baby body hand and I see light rays. And I'm thinking, I'm feeling wonderful. I don't have language to convey that I'm trying to calm them down, but I can hear them. I don't know what they're saying, but I know they're upset. The baby knows that. Now, this glowing light that I'm seeing around me, I'm feeling absolutely divine. And all of a sudden, in that instant, it was like rays of light come back from behind me, filled with bubbles of love, like effervescent bubbles of love. And it scoops me up out of my body, and I'm just rising right up out of my body. As I'm rising up out of my body, I see my mother run down the hallway, the corridor, screaming frantically, pack her in ice. And so I'm totally detached. I'm leaving, but that's what I see. And what am I able to do? Understand words, understand thought, totally. I knew exactly what my mother was saying and what the intention of everyone, what they were saying to her. Once I come up out of space, I'm in space. It was like a genie being freed out of the body. You're unrestricted. I was like, oh my God, it feels so good. It feels good to expand again. And I thought that was a wild ride back on Earth. And then I realized I'm pure awareness. I just thought two thoughts at one time, simultaneous. It was kind of nice. I start thinking other thoughts, 5 thoughts, 10 thoughts, 100 thoughts. My mind can hold 100 thoughts at once, simultaneous. It's like a computer with all of the different tabs open. And then you can so choose any one to go into. And then you can go into it and merge with it. So that's why even in the Bible, and God says he knows every hair in your head, you can choose to merge with anything you so desire and become it. Love it that much that you can become it and know it intimately. My awareness expanded so that I knew that everything was infinite to the far reaches of eternity. And as my mind is going in all these different directions and able to inhale it and understand it and merge with it, I'm starting to see, if you will, whole universes or souls, consciousness. There's dimensions between dimensions between dimensions, and it's not linear. It goes out in all directions and it comes into the microscopic level and it goes to that for eternity. So I'm starting to feel this. And then I'm starting to also see on these dimensions, because I'm pure awareness. There's like orbs, and these are souls, like pods of consciousness that would create whole universes or souls. And they were being generated like a bubble maker. It's being generated and going forth. And then the breath of the creator comes in to fuel it with love. Everything is about love. The creator I'm a little speck, but I'm watching this whole array of all these universes being formed and souls being birthed. And not just the souls being birthed, but when they're there, when you diminish, when the energies diminish, the creator's love comes back in with energy and fuels it all again. So it's self-generating and self-perpetuating and it's expanding to the outermost reaches of the universe. And it continues forever. We are infinite. Our soul's journey is infinite. The cosmos, God is infinite. So I'm watching this whole array happen. And then I feel this pulse of the divine love fueling all creation, because that's what it is. I understood and was able to observe that we're pure awareness and that there's a divine awareness. That's God, creator being that fuels it all. that extends into everything as a particle of everything. Now, as I'm watching the whole array of all these universes, merging with creation and feeling the love that is absolutely magnificent, flowing through every particle of you, and you're flowing through every particle of everything. It's like a gnat. I'm hearing exactly what's happening on Earth. They're all upset. My mother's very upset. I can understand every word and every thought still. Remember, if I have 500 tabs open, one of them is through Earth. I overheard their discussions, right? They're going, she's dead. She's not breathing. There's no heartbeat. And my mother's frantic, saying, no, 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 we got to do this, we got to do that. And they finally say, no, Stormy, let her go. There's no heartbeat, there's no breath. That's it, she's gone, she's gone. My mother's fighting against it. And finally she says, no, look, look, look. And I can literally feel the hesitation looking at the baby, right? And then all of a sudden I feel the recognition of my mother that there's no breath, there's no heartbeat, they're showing her. She goes to crumble on her knees by this red laundry basket. And she goes to accept it. And the anguish, you can just imagine an anguish of a mother who just lost her 6 months. She gets mad, like fierce mama bear. Such anguish and grief and love. And she screams inside at the top of her lungs, outward, with a force that literally is like a fish hook. And she said, Robin, you get back here now. And it literally hooked me. The emotion was like a fish hook. She hooks me up. I'm watching all this. I'm excited, right? I didn't have any choice. I didn't get a council of elders. No, this was my mother's anguish and love and force. And she fish hooks me, rips me out of heaven, and then I go down the tube like this, right? And lightning speed in your consciousness is like, wow, out. And then I'm going back down to earth and I see the apartment, and I see this little, that's what invoked that memory. I see that red laundry basket, and I see this little tiny baby, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm a little bit arrogant going, my consciousness is this big, like lightning and light. How is that going to be contained in that little tiny baby body? Oh, no, no way. I didn't request this. I came right back to the top of my head. Now, this is what's interesting about the NDE. I still maintained that profound spiritual connection and understood words and language. That's what's interesting. I don't have my eyes open. That's important. I see the two people here. My mother's over here crying. She's sobbing. But I see these two people, and it's a man and a woman, and they're going, what should we do? And I understood. Should we call the morgue? This has never happened to me before. Like, should we call the doctor? Like, I don't know what we're supposed to do with this. They're whispering to each other while my mother's sobbing. And then all of a sudden, I feel and see this woman take a look at me. And my arm had twitched, because now I'm back in my body, and I'm packed in ice, so I'm starting to shiver. She looks and she questions it. She looks again, and then she nudges this other guy, goes like this. And he looks and he affirms, yes, saw me twitch. And that's when she says again, Stormy, look, I think I saw her move. My mother's thought was, I could feel it. Don't even get me going. I just accepted she died. Don't even get me going there. And she goes, no, I really mean it. She moved. And my mother looks, and you can see this second where like she's watching, and then she sees me move, and her heart almost jumps out of her chest. She's elated with joy. She sees me move. She grasps my two shoulders and brings me up out of the ice. I'm still able to feel and know everyone's thought. And then all of a sudden, when I open my eyes, it's like a lead helmet comes down, it closes off all that connection. That's what's important, because that's the descent into matter, into these physical bodies, and we lose that connection. But I was able to see it happen and witness it. I witnessed everything leaving, and then I witnessed everything coming it back down and then closing it off. Now, I take you back down. I'm in the basement. I'm going, wow, that's interesting. Now I know why I didn't like this red basket. So I get my little one, the little diapers out, coming up the stairs, draw you a picture. 1960s, my mother's got auburn hair. It's a little bouffant, remember? Little white and blue apron. She's doing the dishes. My little brother's in the other room, in his little carriage. I go, Mama, did I die in this red laundry basket? She stops. And like shocked. And she's, how do you know that? And how do you remember that? I go, did you call me back down from heaven? She literally couldn't get her breath. Her face goes ashen and she goes, how do you know this? I said, I remembered it. So that's when we sat down and talked, and this is what she relays to me. I said, what happened? Did I die? And she said, yes. Back in 1957, you can do the research, there was a horrid pandemic. My own babysitter was in the hospital, not just an emergency room, she was hospitalized with it. My mother was very concerned that I was going to get it. But I was kind of lethargic that day, she said, but I didn't have a temperature, so she went ahead and went to work. I said, who were those two people? She said, those were the people across the hallway, and, I had to get them in to babysit you. So I said, okay. And then I said, why are they calling you Stormy? That's not your name. My mother had a heart attack. She looks at me and she goes, that was my nickname. Remember, she hadn't told me any of this, because who wants to tell their daughter her name was Stormy? I said, well, why do they call you Stormy? Because I was like a storm cloud in my younger years, right? So that's of course, before she gets married, has the babies, and doing the 19, stuff. She wasn't going to tell me that stuff, right? She goes, how would you know that? I said, that's what those people were calling you. She just couldn't believe it. So she starts really being very emotional. She says, that's why I kept the red laundry basket, because you came back to me. And that's why she loved it every single place. But what I want you to remember are, what are the important things about this NDE versus something else? This one was that my mother was able to validate the experience. She was there to confirm that I had in fact died, that there were other witnesses there, right? That I even remembered it as a 6-month-old. How in the world can a 6-month-old even remember any of these events, right? That's significant. I was able to bring her back nicknames, the people that were there. I even knew there was a little brown box on the wall, and they were talking all upset, right? She confirms for me that they had called. Took me a little while to figure this out years later. What was that brown box? Oh, it's a 1950s telephone. Remember, they were on the wall. I didn't know what that was, because in the 60s and 70s, we didn't have them. And finally, in a movie, I realized, oh, that's what they're talking. That's what that was. That was that brown box where they were, that husband and wife were near there talking, because that was the phone, because they didn't have the extensions. So she confirms and validates all of the things that I had seen. But I relayed heaven to her. I relayed the people that were there, right? So the other validation comes in, that's what I want you to remember, is that I did get to see what heaven was, how the veil is lifted, and that our soul is immortal and infinite in its love. We get to see whole universes. There's an alternative path we can take to. Do you see? I wasn't attached to earth or people at the time, so I got to see an unlimited view of creation, at least as far as I could be there. What else? My mind expands. It's omnipotent, omnipresent. That's different, right? That's your own consciousness. What's the implications? That the veil separates us from our true birthright. Those are our gifts. That's our true natural state of being. But we can regain these spiritual gifts. That's the journey here. I want to give you 3 takeaways from this. There should be no fear. We are immortal. We are conceived and birthed in love. And we can have that kind of love. We are all truly interconnected. And I want to show you how you can bring that love to create heaven on earth. And then I'll tell you that what it does is when you have no fear, it opens up other spiritual visions, other spiritual encounters, and other spiritual gifts. And I'll tell you about a few more of those that I've had because I had no fear, because I knew I was unlimited. So I had it so young. It allows you to have that beautiful connection to all the portals, right? Up, all the way up, like Jacob's ladder. But how do we bring heaven to earth? Because that's the journey. And our journey is awakening, that we have these gifts. I just want you for a moment, because I did feel this. I want you to imagine, close your eyes and imagine the person that you love the most on earth. Feel that love. That unconditional love sweep through you. Open your heart and you connect with them. I want you to imagine that you're separated from them for 1,000 years. Think of the hurt and the longing. Now I want you to imagine that God opens the door and that loved one after 1,000 years walks over to you and just glimpsing their face and their eyes and knowing they're there and you can be with them again, the joy that you have in your hearts. Your heart is leaping for joy like when my mother realized I was alive. That's your loved one walking in the door after 1,000 years. And now I want you to see as you open your eyes that every person, every creature on earth that you encounter is that love. And you haven't seen them for 1,000 years, and you encounter them with that kind of love. That's paradise on earth. When we can have that kind of interconnection and be so grateful just to be in the presence. Thank you for coming, Tanya. I love you. Walk in love. That's how we navigate earth. And did Jesus and the saints and all the rishis, all the masters, Buddha, all of them, we walk in love. All the near-death people are telling you we are interconnected. There is love. I'm telling you that love fuels not just earth, not just us, all the dimensions and the dimensions in between. And that when we greet each other down here, you look at that soul, you say, love you. I'm so grateful that I have seen you again. That's how we maintain that beautiful love, and that activates our gifts, you see? Because it's frequency. Now, because I had this near-death experience so young, I wasn't afraid. I was sensitized. I think it changes you. I mean, just had problems and all the other kind of stuff, electronics and doubling. But I think what happens more than anything, because there's no fear, you know there's love, you know you're immortal, but you're open to these encounters, right? So before I remembered the event, my soul remembered the entity. I already knew I was connected, right? I didn't have the event because I had the amnesia, but I had the soul's memory of it here on my body. Now I'm 5, I've already been educated about religions. Now I am pre-programmed. Now look what happens. To have I would never have let those bad people hurt you. Never, never, never. I would have protected you. I wouldn't have let them get my Jesus. And I'm loving him and I'm crying in tears because they hurt my Jesus. But because I had these other experiences and gifts, I could feel in the cosmos Jesus's soul was like those effervescent bubbles but spread out to the heavens. And he notices me. And I knew he was coming. It was like, you know how you notice something and then you decide to come there? That's what I felt. And all of a sudden, I could feel all the little lights, his little light consciousnesses coalesce, coming together, coming together, coming together. And it coalesces into a white golden pillar of light right in front of me. The entire room was engulfed in light. It was so bright that when I went to look up, it was too blinding. So I literally went like this, and he understood. And he acknowledges it, and then he reforms behind. It was magical, maybe for 10 minutes. Jesus's light, his essence, his beingness, or a little child, coalesced to come behind me, and he touched my left shoulder and just communed. And all I can tell you is it's more magnificent than any words could ever describe his strength, his compassion, his love for humanity, a love for a little 5-year-old. Pure, he's strong. Everything and more, every word that is possible and beautiful and pure is Christ. So you don't ever have to give me any credit for having faith. I saw he exists. And he came to a little 5-year-old. That's the mercy and the love. And he was touched enough to reform himself into a pillar of light in a little 5-year-old's bedroom. And he understood his magnificence is unending. And so when you're open to these encounters, this allows other gifts to keep unfolding. So I want you to see that when we aren't skeptical, because culture has taught us to be skeptical, that puts a barrier up. But we also have to think about this, because this is the ramifications. Why, when we take form and we come to earth, that's the fall, as far as I'm concerned. That was the fall from Adam and Eve. It was tasting the apple of good and evil, is deciding to come to earth. The forbidden fruit is earth, taking the physical body out. So coming back here down to earth, do you not taste good and evil? Yes. And we forget. That's the amnesia. That's that veil of forgetfulness. Why? It has interesting implications. Because now we know that our natural state is to have this telepathic communion, to be able to merge with all creation, and we are pure awareness, unfolding and expanding. And I will tell the physicist from what I saw on the other side, the universe is expanding. It's not contracting. It was expanding. It kept expanding. We continue to expand and grow. That's what I felt. But is our journey to remember, to thin that veil so that we are connected and we regain our original birthright. That is the process of enlightenment. And I think that's what Christ and Buddha and all the avatars of light were trying to tell us. They achieved it, right? Is that not our duty to achieve it? And Christ, even in the gospel of peace and all these other Gnostic gospels that I teach on, he was teaching his disciples how to do this. So that's how we can unlock these natural gifts that we already are. But when we come back, what is it? What are we gaining by losing that connection? This is just me. When you love someone and touch you, then you've been separated for 1,000 years. Then you see them again once again. You really, truly cherish them every moment. And I think that's our journey on earth. When we lose our connection and we find it again, we cherish it even more and we're stronger for the story and the tale that we learned here on earth. We've acquired more virtues. We've lost something that was a treasure. And when you find it again, are you not unbelievably elated? When my mother thought she lost me, when I was alive again, you see the elation and the joy? I think that's what part of the journey is. We will find these gifts. We will have them again, I promise you. But we lose them when we come to earth. And part of the journey, though, is us to awaken and have these gifts. Like all the avatars have told us, there's a journey down here. We have to break the matrix, the stranglehold they have on our consciousness, and open the barriers so that we can unlock all these spiritual gifts. And if we had total communication and telepathic communication, we were open and we loved each other, there wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be deceit. We could read each other's thoughts, right? There could be a time when we could have been on earth. I remember this a long time ago, where you had those spiritual gifts on earth. Total communication with every plant, every animal, human, totally connected. And that would have been paradise on earth. You wouldn't have hurt anyone, where everything was, even the plants. You would have loved the creatures, you would have loved each other. And I think that's our journey back home on earth. That's the shift, that's the great awakening if we can open this story and create that paradise. So I hope that I've been able to talk to you a little bit about spiritual visions, the OBEs, right? And the lasting one, and if I have time, we'll see, I can do a little bit of a Q&A. But, astral projection, let's just talk about what that might look like so that people understand the terms. So an astral projection is the astral. A lot of times people can confuse, and it can be a little similar. You can have ghosts on earth, people that are locked, scared or trauma that are still here on earth on the dimensional plane can manifest. Astral plane is the causal plane. And a lot of times that's where you can actually maybe go to in your dreams. But it's not one of the most beneficial planes, okay? Because it's a lot of emotions and they're not locked and loaded. The Huna, these are the Hawaiian mystics, and it's a beautiful philosophy. It's a beautiful religion if you ever want to tap into that, the true ancient Hawaiians. What they said was this: they believed in the three selves. And that's what I think is kind of happening in the astral plane. And even in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they tell you not to get caught in the bardo. So the astral plane can be this bardo. Do you see this? So the Tibetans will speak of it, okay? But the best explanation I had was from the Huna religions. And what they said is the kahunas were unbelievable, gifted. They believed in the three selves. Way before Freud, with the superego when he goes ahead, they believed in the three selves. And the lower self was like 8 and under, and you had no kind of control. You were very emotional, but kind of connected to source. Then the middle self is like the intellect that you start acquiring as you get older, and that's more logical. Then they had a higher self, right? That kind of governs and is more spiritual, and they tell everyone to connect with each other's higher self, even if you can't connect with with them on a physical plane and having problems. That higher self governs. So you always have your higher self, sort of like your own guardian angel. That's what the Huna believe. Now, what they said was this, which made sense to me. That the true kahunas who understood the lower self, the middle self, and the higher self, that when they died, they understood heaven. So they kept all of their three selves intact. But people who died and they were scared, right? They were fractured, they in trauma, maybe they split. So that you could find on the astral plane maybe the emotions. Do you see that? If they were split, or that was the lower self or the middle self, and that they can't navigate it fully and functionally on the astral planes. And so that's where you have a lot of confusion, and that's the bardo. So could there be some good things up there? Maybe, right? But it's split. The person they're not fully integrated, low, middle, and high. Because when you're fully integrated, you're going to the higher realms that have a higher sense of purpose. There was a beautiful book on this. I don't even know if you know him, but I learned this with the Rosicrucians. Ledbetter. Have you ever heard of Ledbetter? So he's theosophical with the Theosophical Society, but he will actually talk to you a little bit about this. And I wanted to see if I could show you, they have a little bit, it's similar, and he's calling them helpers. But he's talking from a helping standpoint. But what he's saying, the work of the adept, that's the true master. That's Jesus, that's Buddha, that's all the rishis, right? They're working in the higher planes. The work of the adept lies in higher regions, chiefly upon the upper levels of the divagetic plane or heaven world, where he may direct his energies to the influencing of the true individuality of man, and not the mere personality, which is all that can be reached in the astral or physical world. So that's why I wanted to bring that up to you, is because the Hunas will tell you it's a split. You're not integrated, right? Think of the lower self, the middle self, and the higher self. But even from a theosophical society, the astral plane, he's telling you one is more of the personality. The strength which he puts forth in that more exalted realm, these are the higher realms, right? Produces greater results, more far-reaching and more lasting than any which can be attained by the expenditure of even 10 times the force down here. And the work up there is such as that he alone can fully accomplish. While that on lower planes may be at any rate to some extent achieved by those whose feet are not yet upon the earlier steps of the great stairway, which will one day lead them to the position where he stands. So that was Ledbetter, and he was just one of these founding members, real high up in the Theosophical Society. And he's even telling you from the Theosoph's viewpoint, there's higher realms that you want to achieve. The astral levels are more of a lower. And the Hunas are telling you it's kind of split, right? You're not fully integrated. So your journey is to be fully integrated when you die. And I would say, even on earth as a master, as a Rishi master, you want to be fully integrated. You will be able to remote view. You will be able to go to these places and materialize and dematerialize, just like the Nordics did. You see? So does that kind of explain the astro from the different versions, the spiritual visions, and the near-death experiences? So you can kind of see the flavor of all of them. And the whole thing is we have to open these gifts and start using them. So what I like to see, is there anyone that has any questions about any of this? And then we can do a beautiful little meditation and see what you might like. Any questions at all? Did I answer most of them? Yes.
So I had an astral projection experience years and years and years ago. And I was connected with a silver cord. And I knew it was in a dream state. I knew that if that cord was cut, that I would die. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was my feeling.
That was your belief, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess my question to you would be, for an NDE, did you also feel like you had some kind of cord holding you until, no, okay.
I wasn't connected, not even in the least.
There's nothing about that. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't feel any kind of cord at all. And I have heard in a lot of literatures, they say when you do astral project, and I would probably even put that in the same state with the remote viewing, that you probably still have to be connected, to the physical body. And I may have died another time. I'm trying to put that in that. When I was older, I was very sick, and my heart kind of stopped beating when I tried to get up. I was moving in the kitchen, and what was funny, I didn't realize it. I went to go do the dishes. I'm a mother. I'm trying to clean the house. I was really, really sick, and I've been going to Mayo Clinic. So anyway, I could feel my heart. I was just really ill. But what happened is I kind of forced myself to, I said, I have to get up. I have to do something because I was in bed for a long time. When I got up, I went to do the dishes, and my hand went through the dishes. And I go, what happened? Why can't I pick the dishes up? Right? So this could have been astro remote view, and I don't know what it was, but I was like, I went to pick them up like this, and I said, I can't pick anything up. So I said, God bless, I can't be dead, could I? And I went back to the bedroom. So I'm in the house, and I see my body laying there on the bed. And I went, oh my God, because I have a little 2-year-old, and he's playing by the bedside. I'm going, I can't be dead, I can't be dead. So this is kind of funny. I try to lay back in my body, I live in there, and my baby's playing, and I go, you're in. And then I go lift my hand, and it didn't lift. And now I'm really getting scared. I did this twice, and I couldn't get glued back in my body. And then I'm thinking, I'm really dead. Oh my God, my baby's gonna fall down the stairs. The other 2 kids are gonna come home. They're gonna see their mother's dead. It's gonna traumatize them. You talk about true fear. I like, that's the anguish. I'm like, oh my God, I can't be dead. Please, dear God, let me get in the body. And boom, you could feel it just suction right in. And it was all, please. And then I could lift my body. So I don't know if that was astro. It could have been that. I don't know what that was, but I know I was in the body and I could see it.
Mine was very much in space. I mean, I was really out in the stars. So probably had another ending.
It could have been, because I was really sick and my heart was pumping, yeah.
I think that's pretty clear to me. That's just an out of body experience. You left the body. That's simple as that. No projection there going on. People are in
see?
the house. Walk.
I was in the house, I walked, tried to do the dishes, something common, right? But, right, you can't lift anything. But that's when I am trying to tell you, I truly still believe if a person dies, think about it, if they're attached to earth and the loved ones, they could be there right there. They could be in spirit form, right? So remember that if I was there and I could see my son and I could see the house, whether it was an NDE or not a body, to me it doesn't matter. When a person dies, now when they're drawn, because that's the other thing I wanted to explain something to you, and I brought my dictionary to do that. You're drawn, intention will draw you to where you're going to go, right? So if you're attached and you love everyone, even if it's a memorial service that your loved ones are breathing and are crying, could they not still be there just like I was there? I could see my body. They can be there. Your loved ones can be present with you. We just can't see them. They can't touch us like I couldn't touch the plates, right? But they can be there. So we've got to be open to this and prepare people. You know, their loved one can still be there. It's what draws you. You're going to go where your intention draws you. You see? So that's where some of the other near-death experiences are truly, totally valid. They can see Jesus. They can see their loved ones. They're drawn to those that they want and love, right? And if I would die today, I would have a different experience. I would be all worried about my kids and everything else because I would have had time to accumulate earthly desires and needs and loves. At 6 months old, I didn't have that. I was totally not attached. But to try to at least to show you why I think this is a little bit different, I had to get my old dictionary. I thought, what's the words I could give someone to try to explain to those who might have thought, you know, which is true. I'm validating every one of these. When you go up and you see your loved ones and you see Jesus or Buddha or the great hunting grounds, that is absolutely valid for them. It's true and valid and it's beautiful. Okay? Because I wasn't attached, you see this old dictionary? All of us who are older know what these are. Kids don't. We have to show them. Before the internet and cell phones, I was trying to get an image of trying to explain to everyone the differences. So when you look at a dictionary, you see the tabs. And you have to go under A, you get a little tab with your little thumb. You see this? It's little tabs. And you put your little thumb in there, S's, T's, whatever, right? And you open to that page. All of us older ones know this. Teach all the younger whippersnappers. What I can try to explain to you is this. We are drawn to that where we want to go, where our love is, where our expectations are, right? So if I'm Buddhist or if I'm American Indian, I would go into the great hunting grounds, right? My G in there, that's where I was told that heaven was. And I envisioned that heaven. And you're going to go there. That's your heaven. If you've envisioned that you're going to see Jesus, you're going to go to J. All cultural, all expectations are under there. You're going to see the white pearly gates. You're going to see exactly what you believe heaven is. And it will be a construct and it will be there and it is true. You are called to be there. You're drawn to that frequency, you see, because of your love and your inclinations. With me not being attached, I hadn't even developed an association on earth. I was an incubator baby. Almost died, you know, then it was, so I was in the hospital for 3 months. I wasn't attached to anything on earth. So then what happens? When I come up, I'm not attached to people or the earth. I wasn't programmed for any of these heavens. I wasn't taught what heaven was supposed to be. So what happens is when I come up, I can be here. I'm witnessing creation everywhere. I wasn't attached and drawn to any one of those particular heavens or dimensions. Do you see the difference? So I believe that's the difference. And every single near-death experience is valid, but you're called and drawn to where your belief structure, your frequency, your thoughts are. And so you get to go where you want to go. I just happen to be untethered. Yes.
I have a question. I had a very profound spiritual manifestation of multiple beings in my apartment. Now,
That's a vision.
it came out of the television. When I say out of the television, remember the Starman with Jeff Bridges?
Yes, I love the Star
That's
Man.
exactly what happened to me from the television, starting from just a blip. But to make the
Mhm.
story shorter, many things happened in my apartment, multiple beings standing there looking at me. As I'm talking to you, I can see them. Huge red globes over their head, all dressed in long flowing red robes. I had other beings on the other side in my apartment of these creatures I didn't know what they were, but they had all moving parts underneath them. I had flags flying, Hindu flags flying all over the ceiling. It left the TV. And that moment I thought I was going to have a heart attack, just like that. I was not scared anymore.
See, when you're not afraid,
Yeah.
you can embrace these experiences, right?
But my question is, there had to be 15 or 20 beings on one side and the same on the other side, these beings that were flying,
Mhm.
fluttering, and these things that were flying. But no communication. They just were looking at me. I couldn't see their face.
But that's the silent apparition of like Mary. That's what was noted. I talked about that. Sometimes the apparitions don't talk.
Right.
Do you see?
didn't.
They commune. They're there, their presence, their holy presence. And so can be interdimensional.
Well, yeah, I know
Yeah.
I was in a different dimension,
Mhm.
you know, because when you're not afraid anymore, you were in a different dimension.
Yes.
What is the reasoning for that?
Did you learn something? Sometimes there's bleed throughs. Sometimes you kind of set yourself up, you're open. But I also believe we have to guard our thoughts, guard our intentions, and set protection barriers up. Because you have all this interdimensional highway traffic, right?
Same thing happened. But different. Again, no communication. But you know what I did? I was prompted from where I don't know. I said to all these beings, I'm not afraid of you. If you want to come to me, you can. I did that telepathically, and they did. They all floated toward me. It was the wildest experience I ever had. And they swirled around me and then dissipated.
Well, all these experiences will gift you with something, but they have to be, is there good ones? Is there bad ones? You have to know, right? And in that moment, right, so if it was a good, holy essence, right, then they're blessing you.
Right.
But that we also have to guard our hearts, because we have to set up a holiness to where only the beautiful, supportive, loving influencers, let's say, in the spiritual realm can come to us, right? And so then that's a blessing, because then now you're open. And that's where these gifts start to unfold when we're sensitized to it and we are open and we're come to us and we're able to have that kind of communion. We get to open those portals.
I have to add to that. I don't remember the dream. If I do, they're very profound. And I did see the one being dressed in all red robes in my dream. And I recognized that person. And I was so emotional because that being had his arms or its arms toward me and enveloped me and put their arms around me. And I'll tell you who that person was. That was my father.
Okay.
Not our earthly father. This was another father.
From another lifetime.
Right. And
yes.
I still, as I'm talking about, I get very emotional.
See, so because you're not just a soul in this one incarnation. We are souls from many millions of years, right? And so can we were open, can we not have these experiences? Can we, and she even asked, why? Why?
Yes.
So for love, for support, because they get to see you. Wait a minute. Is that sort of like what we just thought about? If you haven't seen a person in 1,000 years and you can just cast your glance,
Right.
your eyes upon them, he came to you to love you, to see you again, for you to be comforted. But we can have these kind of experiences when we open our hearts and our minds to them. So I'm gonna just close with a beautiful little prayer. And for those of you who wish to stay, you can. But let's just go ahead, and now that we have been to all these beautiful regions, let's close our eyes and take another breath. We can thank all the heavens, our hearts, create that openness, all the avatars of light, and we can ask that we can keep our thoughts pure, our lives pure. And in so doing, have that beautiful connection with all of our loved ones that are supportive and holy and beautiful and beneficent. That we can walk in love and light and have these connections, that they are ours. And that we can awaken to our true gifts and our birthright. And we can know that we have that. That is us. That is who we are. We are immortal and we are love. Just take another breath and you can orient and know that when you go forth into this world, you're going to greet everyone like your long lost brother and sister. Be open to the other portals on the other side of all your loved ones that can come to you in dream states, in a physical state, all the avatars of light that we can have an experience, right? Know that you are loved, conceived in love, unearthed in heaven, and you go on for eternity. So I'm going to close the service out. I will ask everyone, whether you're on Facebook Live or whether you're on Zoom, at the Cosmic Center, I need your support with some loving light. And if you'd like to, we have a basket here for the person. But if you're on Zoom or Facebook Live, if you can go to www.ccosl.com/donate. Again, ccosl.com/donate. We would appreciate any kind of loving light in exchange coming our way so we can keep the light going. All right, namaste. When I say you are love, you are love. Go forth into the world with love and spread the glory. And I will sign off and see you guys soon.